It's such a personal topic, but let me tell you a little bit about Gabriella. I met her through one of the webinars and got in contact, and we started exploring the opportunities of what we can do together. And Gabriella is a qualified master practitioner of NLP. She has traveled around Europe, Asia, Africa, America, in fact everywhere. She's been everywhere. In 2012, she published a book called Antarctic Odyssey, A New Beginning, about her adventures there. She's an author, speaker, visionary, and feminine cycle consultant who helps women to gain confidence, authority, and fulfillment in life by knowing their body better. And here today she is sharing her wisdom with all of us. So welcome, Gabriella.
Thank you so much, Jonita, for inviting me today. It's such a, I always feel a bit of an emotion, because for me, since very little, International Women's Day is the day for a woman. I come originally from Italy, and over there is a very well celebrated day. And on the 8th of March, you would see, majority of women in the streets or wherever, or in the office or at home or whatever, they would have mimosa flowers, which is a lovely flower with little balls, very soft and nice, perfuming and very delicate, that men tend to give to women on Women's Day. So I was quite surprised when I came to this country, and I find out actually it wasn't a big thing. Lately, in the last maybe 10 years, it seems that it's more celebrated, but otherwise, I came here in 1998, and it was barely talked about, and I was really kind of shocked by it. Just by show of hand, anybody here knows me? Or maybe has read something about me? No, nobody else. Okay, so I think I will just start sharing a bit about me, so you know who I am. Right. My name is very long. I said previously I come from Italy, originally from Turin, which is a town in the northwest part of Italy. And I have a very long name, which is Gabriella Guglielminotti Trivel, which is kind of complicated, so it's a challenge in itself. But hey, what do you do if you have been given such a name? So after I trained in neuro-linguistic programming, which is all about the man and how use the man, etc. I had this goal of making anybody pronounce my name correctly. And most of the time, because my intention is to make people, from scare to pronounce it easily, it happens. And that showed me how truly powerful our mind is. But today I'm going to talk to you about your wonderful voice. So don't worry about it. But anyway, I come from Turin, and I trained as an interpreter at high school. And so I also, because of my travel as a tour leader, I had the opportunity to meet lots of people and take them to different countries, different continents, and that really broadened my mind a lot. I ended up in 1998 in the UK because through my travels I met a British man that later on became my husband, and so I moved to London. We got married, got divorced, and I'm still here after 16.5 years. So there must be something that holds me down here for some reason. I haven't discovered it yet, but I might discover further down the line. I worked in the travel industry, in the tourism business for some time. And little by little, my curiosity of seeing the world and becoming acquainted with other cultures kind of wore off. And I felt more and more like kind of, when you feel stuck or you feel not satisfied and there's something inside that tells you, knocks on your door and tells you that something is not right. And so I was wondering what I should do. in my life to solve this problem. And then, as it happens sometimes, life sorted out for me. I was made redundant at work, so career result, and my marriage basically finished. So another huge source of bother kind of seemed to come into the open. And at the same time, I also lost my social background because it was linked to my major two areas of life, which was the working life and family life. So I went through a very tough period. And like all tough periods, I'm sure you might have been in one or two yourself, they teach us a lot. And we might even go through pain. And sometimes what is pain becomes our biggest source of bliss sometimes, right? So I ended up coming across NLP. I don't know if any of you is familiar with neuro-linguistic programming, and I really enjoyed becoming acquainted and trained in this subject because it gave back to me the power of feeling powerful, of discovering who I am, and reconnect the part of me that was already in the alternative medicine world before I left my country. During my 20s, because I was a translator, I ended up in the Swiss Alps in an international macrobiotic center. And so through that, I became acquainted with different alternative therapies, etc. And that really was the beginning of my journey. But when I moved to UK, for some reason, I tried to be normal. I convinced myself it was a good thing just to have a normal job, to get married, and have a normal life. What's wrong with that? Well, nothing, except for the fact that I wasn't feeling fulfilled. My soul was crying out and shouting at me. Anyway, how did I end up doing what I do? And how I end up here talking to you about my pet subject, which is the feminine cycle. Hey, it's not something you can buy from the shelves of Tesco. I would mention that I went through a very tough period, and during that period, was back in 2005, I was very stressed. Come on, I had no career left, my marriage was gone, I didn't have friends left, and I was really lonely and alone in London, which is a big place. It's not the best place to be alone, right? Or to feel stranded. So I noticed that my cycles, my periods, were not normal anymore, and they were kind of becoming irregular. And because of my interest in natural medicine, alternative therapies, etc., I knew there was something for me, that it was a sign of my body that wanted to communicate with me, first of all, and second, I had something very important to tell me. But I didn't know. I had to understand the language, that my body was talking to me to be able to get the message. And so I thought, okay, right, there is something there for me to investigate. I express a desire to the higher whatever, whatever it is, universe, God, whatever, to send me something that could enlighten me, it could really teach me what was there for me. And so it came on my path, but many years later. And I came across a lady whose name is Alessandra Pope, and I can become enlightened about the wonderful body that we have as women, and the wonderful thing that we have called the cycle, also called menstruation. And for some reason, some people call it the curse. So I never called it like that. I always saw it as a friend, but I discovered all these goodies, and I thought, oh my God, oh my Lord, why on earth I wasn't ended all this knowledge at the beginning of the journey, not now. And I really felt inside, my soul cried, and I felt deprived of something that as a woman I thought I should have had. But in my teen years possibly, or in my 20s, not in my 40s, hello. But hey, hey ho, life sometimes is the way it is. And so I had my 2 seconds of crying, silent cry inside. And then I thought, okay, what can I do now to avoid it? Somebody else like me sitting in my seat and feel the same. And so I realized that, well, there was only one way, which is spreading a message and do my best to be able to share with as many women as possible what is actually there for all of us, but nobody tends to tell us. So that's why today I'm here to talk to you about the feminine cycle. But this time, I had a little discussion with Janita about the title. I really wanted, because it's International Women's Day, I thought, oh, it has to be something really juicy. It has to be something really kind of grabbing. And I thought, okay, it's such a buzzword, you know, PMS. Do you know what it is? So, by show of hands, who knows what PMS is? Okay, so it is a, okay, I chose right, okay. So I thought, okay, let's go for it. Let's go for the devil's, look into the devil's eyes first thing, you know, and see what I can, how I can revert this, how I can change it. So if I manage this, I've done my job. If I haven't, if at the end of my talk I haven't, well, please come and tell me, okay? Now, I did a bit of research, because I like doing these type of things. And so I thought, oh, okay, let's Google it and see what comes up. And so, I found some interesting facts. Now, first of all, PMS, do you know what it stands for? It's pre-menstrual syndrome. Okay, do you know what PMDD is? Aha, got it. So, PMDD, for your knowledge, is pre-menstrual dysphoric disorder. Well, I feel already bad. Anyway, I found out that there is this National Association for Premenstrual Syndrome, also called NAPS. I didn't know the existence of it. But when I found that, I thought, oh, well, we are really bad, because if they even have an association for that, Now, in the website, I found the following, okay? PMS. PMS can occur in any woman during childbearing years. It is estimated that as many as 30% of women can experience moderate to severe PMS, with 5 to 8% suffering severe PMS or PMDD. Now we know it's premenstrual dysphoric disorder. This being around 800,000 women in the UK. 800,000. I know, I was a bit shocked, but anyway. Then I read on. What is PMS? PMS is a chronic condition experienced by menstruating women, which is characterized by distressing physical, behavioral, and psychological symptoms that regularly recur during the luteal phase of the menstrual cycle. Luteal phase is, for your information, is from ovulation till menstruation. It's the second part of the cycle. And that disappear or significantly diminish by the end of the period. Now, this is how it's explained. And the PMDD, which is the premenstrual dysphoric disorder, consists of symptoms similar to, but more severe than PMS. And while primarily, they are mood-related, but may include also physical symptoms such as bloating, PMDD is also classified as a repeating transitory cyclic disorder with similarities to unipolar depression, and several antidepressants have been approved as therapy. There you go. I feel worse, right? I don't know you, but I feel even worse now. Now, an interesting fact though. What causes PMS? Now, the precise causes of PMS have still to be identified, but there is compelling evidence that symptoms are directly related to the fluctuation of hormone levels in the monthly cycle. As PMS is absent before puberty, in pregnancy, and after the menopause, there is clear indication that clinical ovarian activity is an important factor in explaining PMS. So, I found all these websites and all these definitions, and I started reading all the symptoms. And even if I was menstruating, I still am actually, I was feeling all these symptoms. That tells you the power of the mind, right? So I thought, food for thought. What? I have a question. What if I told you a different story? What if I told you something that it would possibly open your heart and make your heart sing? Would you like to hear the story? Okay. Now, stick with me and let's do a bit of thinking. We have been for a few millennia under patriarchy. Patriarchy meaning the rule of man. And I'm not saying this with any feeling attached to this. I'm just saying in the world, society, generally speaking, across the board, in all different parts of the world, have been under the rule of patriarchy, meaning men are in the, in the ruling class. Men are the ones that decide and make decisions, and they run our society. So, men are different from women. And as such, one of the major differences between men and women is that men are linear. They think in more linear way. Junita touched a bit at the beginning with the female and the male energy, but not much. But if we really wanted to boil it down and to make it very simple, the big difference between the female energy is that it's a nurturing energy that tends to be represented by something which is cyclical and circular. Whereas the male energy is a linear energy that is driven, generally speaking, in the outside world. So it's more outgoing, it's more goal-driven, action-driven. This just to give you a very simple explanation of this energy. As we have been living as women under patriarchy for so long time, don't you think that possibly along the way, everything that is feminine, so is unpredictable, is cyclical, is more nurturing, came second to everything that is goal-driven and is masculine. And why is this? Well, the feminine nature is very unpredictable. It's more hidden. It's a more passive energy. It's a more nurturing energy. It's less outgoing. It's more inward. So because we have had thousands of years of conditioning, and I would say male conditioning, don't you think that everything that is female has become like a second-class citizen? Now, it might seem a bit strong, but I would like you to think for a moment. When you think that these things happen through time, and I'm talking here about millennia, okay? Not just 1 year or 2 years, etc. So, don't you think that through millennia, what is feminine what is more family oriented, what is more nurturing, what is more gregarious rather than individual, has become like the black sheep, the thing that is not conducive to society or to success or to power or whatever. Also, I would like to bring your attention on something very important called conditioning. There are different sorts of conditioning, okay? Just for simplicity and because there isn't much time, I just want to touch the three main ones. By the way, conditioning, as the word says, is something we don't notice because it's already conditioned us, right? So it's very difficult to come out of it. It requires dedication and presence to be able to come out of it. Now let's just talk about the three main ones. We have a social and cultural conditioning, where of course we live in a society, so we are influenced by what in our society is done and is perceived as okay. Cultural meaning we are all part of a culture, so certain things are okay to be done in this way, other things are not. And in this big category also comes the family conditioning that we all have, because we all are born in a family. And even if we become like foundling and we lose our parents, we will be integrated in another family or in a society anyway, in a group of people. So we all have that conditioning. And then there is the second one, which is a big one for everybody, religion conditioning. And part of the religion conditioning, there is also the cultural, the education. Because if you think about it, until just last century, the majority of the education was being done and run by mainly religious institutions. And also, these days you might say, oh well, yes, but it's true, but I'm a religious, I don't have a religion, etc. Yes, it's true. You might be a religious, so don't belong to any of them, but still it's something that has shaped our society for thousands of years. So that either we are willing or unwilling to admit it, even as a reaction, it still runs us. By the way, I don't know if you had ever done any research in this department, but women never really tend to have a big stand or position in religion, generally speaking. Again, if we look at it, the majority of our religions tend to have a male God, not a female goddess. So then we also have another one, which is a big one, which is the political conditioning, which is also related to our financial conditioning. So if you just consider these three main ones, and these three main conditioning have been acting on us as women for a long, long time. Don't you think that there might be a good possibilities that we lost our contact with our inner essence, which is a female essence? And from a situation of feeling established in ourselves and feeling glorious in our being, where we don't have to prove anything to anybody, little by little we shut down and we close our door to our soul, which is a feminine soul. And so little by little, instead of drawing the wisdom from our body, we started seeing and perceiving our body as a source of power. But power not because we draw pleasure out of it and wisdom from it, but it's a source of power because is a pleasurable object for men. So you can see that through millennia we fell from a goddess state into a category B type of citizen. And this created repression. What if it wasn't like this in the past? What if there was a time where women were considered, revered and considered as powerful beings? What if there was a time when we were sitting in circles as peers and we shared our wisdom? What if once upon a time we were enjoying our body instead of feeling it as a source of pain? What if I told you the super secret that nature's got for us women that nobody tells you because it's something that has gone lost through the dark night of millennia? Do you want to know it? Okay. Now, as I was saying, my pet subject is menstruation and the feminine cycle. Of course, I have to give you a very succinct explanation right now because I want you to go away with this. I will give you a handout so you can chew on it later on. But for the time being, I just want to very simply explain to you what happens in your body. So let's represent this wonderful, well, it's not very cyclical, it's not very regular, but this is all waved or so. So in every month, a woman goes through an adventure. And it's an adventure of 4 seasons. It's like the season of the year, we all know them, right? Spring, summer, autumn and winter. And the same thing happens in our body. And because this happens in our body, it means we are affected in all our being, in our emotions, in our mind, our psyche, our spirit is affected by it. Let's divide it in 4 to represent the season. So let's start from the spring season, which is what we are now. So the spring season is our first week of the month, and is the week that starts when we stop bleeding, okay? So our spring, inner spring, is also called the pre-ovulatory phase. In our inner spring, in the pre-ovulatory phase, a woman goes through a burst of energy like we see in nature during spring. We are really blossoming, we're full of energy, and we are totally outward. Our interest and our body takes us out there in the world, so our career is very important. Doing and planning and putting into action anything we always wanted to is the time that the body takes us in our spring. Then we go through summer, and like summer, it's a warm season. Okay, we all feel very joyful in summer. We all feel very active. We are very social. We like sharing stuff. So in our inner summer, which is comparable to our ovulatory phase of the month, our second week, we are terribly outgoing, and we are very good at networking. We are very good to do millions of things at the same time. We are a joy for men and society because we can multitask, we can do it all, and say yes to everybody. And then we have the autumn, which is comparable to, what's the symbol of autumn or something? In autumn, with an echo. In autumn, we have, this is the nice one, is the pre-menstrual. Hello, we found our friend, the PMS, or PMDD. Now, autumn is a cooling season, right? The energy is withdrawing, so we are less outgoing, and we start counting our pennies in our pocket. We are starting analyzing, we are starting seeing what works and what it doesn't work, what we like and what we don't like. So we are more concerned in our inner world, our energy goes in. And as such, we don't have time for everybody any longer. And this is the time when we go into a female, feminine energy. So our energy, being a female one, takes us to a place which is very different from spring. And then we go into winter, and in winter, like winter, it's a very cold, this is snow, and this is a snowman. With a carrot. And in winter, we stay inside. We're not bother going out. Are you crazy? We sit in front of the fire. We read a book. We meditate. We dream. We write down our journal. So it's a very withdrawn type of energy. Now I want you to think for 2 seconds this. What do you think these two seasons, the spring and the summer, are feminine energy or male energy? Male energy. So as a consequence, the autumn and winter will be more feminine energy, right? Are you surprised that during these two seasons is when the majority of us as women, we have problems? So women have, well, first in autumn they have the PMS or PMDD, and I wonder why. Then there comes the menstruation week, and then again is the big other period in a woman's month that creates problems. Don't you think that there might be a correlation? Think about it. With the fact that we become women in those two seasons. Could it be that we have been living for this millennia under patriarchy, right? Is it something very easy for men to understand, be unpredictable, speaking straight, speaking our essence, our truth, what is in our heart? Do you think it's something well received? Maybe yes, maybe not. But could it be a sheer chance that we, as women, collectively, we have been experiencing all these problems in those 2 weeks? So, I want you to think for a moment if this is just coincidence, or if it's not, what are the implications? I want you not to believe me. I want you to become an investigator for yourself. And I would love to ask you this thing. Start peeling off all the layers in front of your eyes, in your heart, and in your mind of that conditioning that we've all been through. And because today is International Women's Day, I would like to share with you my vision. You can pick one up at the desk, but I would just like, I will be brief. I would just like to share with you, because I think it's time for us all, collectively as women, to start a period of joy and fun that we can have on the planet if we only start connecting back with our body, our womb wisdom, and our deep feminine essence. So, here we go. I have a vision, and it's the vision of the woman of the 21st century. because the woman of the 21st century is the woman of the next generations. She is beautifully strong. She acts according to her soul purpose. And because of that, she is irresistibly magnetic and engages in empowering relationships with men and women. She gives birth every day to her reality. She pays attention to her feelings, and her feelings guide her to create what she wants. She does it through relationships that help her to discover more about herself. Relationships are her tool in the playground of life. Her feelings are her strength. They complement her intellect. They are a precious source of inner guidance. She is clear about her vision and purpose. Therefore, she is a beautiful inspiration. How does she do all this? She is in contact with her womb. She is aware of her cycle. She acts following its energetic flow. She elegantly flows in the river of life, guided by herself, her center. This makes her a magnet, a beacon of inspiration rather than perspiration. Do you like the picture? Does it sound enticing? Does it make you feel good? I can smell the scent of this woman. Life of this woman tastes great. I would like to invite you to celebrate this year, International Women's Day, celebrating your feminine essence. And please connect with me. I have so much more to tell you. Thank you very much.